I'm Natasha Kirchuk, and thanks for joining us from our studios in Israel. Coming up in today's newscast, American envoys Jason Greenblatt and Jared Kushner are telling the Palestinian president to lower some of his expectations. The new heir to the Saudi throne could mean great things for Israel, and we'll reveal why hundreds have come out to Tel Aviv to demonstrate in what may be the most flexible way ever. Stay tuned for the latest news in Israel. US President Donald Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, is in the region, and he's just had a meeting with the Palestinian president, but it seems like the meeting wasn't such a huge success for Mahmoud Abbas. Kushner, along with Trump's peace envoy Jason Greenblatt, met with Abbas to reaffirm their commitment to advancing President Trump's goal of a genuine and lasting peace. That's according to a White House statement, but it seems like the White House is lowering expectations for immediate progress. They're saying that forging peace will take time and are stressing the importance of creating an environment conducive to peacemaking. According to a senior Palestinian official, a preparatory meeting with Greenblatt on Tuesday went poorly. Greenblatt reportedly pressed Abbas to end payments to imprisoned Palestinian terrorists. The source seems to believe the Americans are buying Netanyahu's complaints about PA incitement. The Palestinians allegedly responded to Greenblatt's criticisms with a demand for an Israeli settlement freeze. The chair of the Foreign Affairs Committee of the Russian Parliament is in Israel, and Konstantin Kosachev is unsurprisingly defending Russian actions in Syria. Kosachev wants to see closer cooperation with Israel when it comes to Syria, especially when it involves information sharing. In an interview with the Jerusalem Post today, he's also expressing hopes that Israel can convince Syrian opposition groups to put down their weapons and join negotiations. Kosachev says he's speaking as a politician and not an intelligence agent, and that Russian intervention in Syria benefits the whole region, including Israel. He's warning that if there's a violent regime change in Syria, those who take over could end up being, quote, someone like Islamic State leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, which will have a negative influence on all of Syria's neighbors. But when it comes to Israeli interests in the region, Kosachev is evasive. He says that Russia won't interfere in bilateral relations between Iran and Syria, and that Iran has a right to place its troops on the Syrian-Israeli border if Syria allows it. The U.S. envoy for combating ISIS, Brett McGurk, is saying that neither ISIS nor Iranian proxies will be allowed to remain on the Golan Heights. King Salman of Saudi Arabia has named a new heir, and it looks like it could create new opportunities for Israel. The 31-year-old Mohammed bin Salman has been serving as a defense and oil minister for a while now, and he's been known for his hawkish anti-Iran foreign policy. In Yemen, he's been the leader behind Saudi efforts to defeat or at least check the Iran-backed Houthi forces. And at home, he's been trying to move Saudi Arabia away from an oil-based economy, although his efforts have only been partly successful. According to Joshua Teitelbaum at the Begin Sadat Institute for Strategic Studies, Israel has a large stake in the Yemen operation because it cannot afford to have an Iranian force control access to the Red Sea and the Gulf of Eilat. Teitelbaum expects bin Salman to continue the Saudi policy of limited clandestine cooperation with Israel. Bin Salman is framing the Saudi conflict with Iran as religious, saying that the apocalyptic beliefs of Twelver Shiites, the dominant religion in Iran, pushes Iran towards irrational actions. Twelver Shiites believe that the hidden Imam, a messianic figure, will reveal himself to the world at a time of great conflict. The egalitarian prayer space at the Western Wall has been a source of great controversy in Israel, and even though the Supreme Court ordered the government to facilitate its construction, it's still been put on ice. Joining us now to discuss why is Rabbi Gilad Kariv, the executive director of the Israel Movement for Reform and Progressive Judaism, Leslie Sachs, executive director of Women of the Wall, Seth Farber, the director of E-Team, the Jewish Advocacy Center, and Rabbi David Fendel, the dean of Yeshivat Hasidim. All right, thank you guys so much for joining us. Now let's begin with the somewhat basic question, but important question. If the Western Wall is holy to all Jews, then why is it a problem to have an egalitarian prayer space?
We think there is no There is no good reason why not to have an egalitarian plaza, aside to the gender-segregated plaza that serves more traditional Jews. We, the non-Orthodox denominations, together with the women of the wall, we strongly support the need to create a place for all Jews and all Jewish groups, communities and denominations in the Western Wall.
Now, clearly not everybody agrees with that, rabbis.
Not only don't we agree, it's so sad that something so beautiful like the Kotel, which unites all Jews, has to become a source of controversy. It's a great opportunity to beg you to leave it alone. Why bring all the problems of the reform movement to Israel? We're doing so great. In other words, it became a magnet for Jews from all denominations. And we found the common denominator, and it's so beautiful, and it's breathtaking, and it's such a beautiful experience. On Jerusalem Day, we saw all Jews, and to divide it, to make two people, to bring divisiveness into this country, leave it in America.
It is an illusion that this is a common denominator. It is an illusion that everybody feels at home at the Western Wall, because most women do not feel at home at the Western Wall, because we are not permitted to pray out loud, because we are not permitted to pray the way many of us want to pray. We don't feel at home. Issues of supposed modesty there are unacceptable to most of the women who do come to the Western Wall. So why does the majority of Jews of the world have to change their ways in order to go according to what a minority demands?
I believe that there's an opportunity here. This isn't only a question of controversy. Controversy also often leads to creative resolution. What's happened now is that religion has become politicized, and that's the most unfortunate thing. As an Orthodox rabbi, I believe strongly that non-Orthodox brothers and sisters have genuine spiritual aspirations, and if they need a place to pray that isn't in the way that I think they have to pray, they deserve to have that place. The Kotel, the Western Wall, Jerusalem, Israel, it's a place for all Jews. It's not just a place for Orthodox Jews or one type of Orthodox Jew. And because of that, I think we needed to come up with a solution. What's happened now is that there was a solution. There's a solution in place. It was a solution that was worked on for years. And unfortunately, now because of political considerations, that solution is being pushed back. Now's the opportunity to use the Kotel as a place that actually can unite all Jews. We can accept our differences. We can celebrate our differences, even if we don't agree, and we can agree to disagree. I don't accept the way, as a halachic Jew, as a Jew committed to Orthodox tradition, I don't accept the authenticity of people who don't do things my way. But I understand that they have a right to do that.
Let's talk about halakha. Is it set in stone or does it change?
The root of the word halakha is to walk. Lalechet is to walk. It is supposed to change. It does change. And it has changed all along the times. So definitely, it needs to change.
You know, we can debate the issue of the Jewish traditional law, and we do not share the same perspective. But the interesting point is that when it comes to the way of worship next to the wall, there is no halakha. There is no halachic or a core halachic problem with this concept of having a prayer area with no gender segregation. You know, usually people that are trying to impose their way are using the language of unity. But the best way to create a unity in a diverse community is to enable all people to celebrate their own way and to truly try to find the common denominator. By imposing your way, you are not promoting any understanding in the Jewish people. If we truly want all Jews to celebrate Jerusalem here in Israel and outside Israel, we need to welcome all Jews and the way they understand their religious traditions.
Rabbi,
Do you know how many differences there are in Jewry? And on Yom Ha'atzmaut, we pray differently on Independence Day in Israel. Maybe we should make a different kotel for each segment and really divide us and tear us apart. I think it's important to know that the tefillin, the phylacteries that we wear, are the same ones that were worn thousands of years ago. Little changes, it's like you go off the highway, you never know where you're going to land. Mm-hmm. We have a right to create a common denominator, which is the beginning. And then if you deviate,
If it's
so
a
why
common
not
denominator,
join? And
if you're not imposing on me your way, that's not about finding a compromise. Forcing me to walk the path that you chose, that's not a common denominator.
When President Trump came and respected the way of the Kotel, were we forcing something on him? It's respect to the Jewish people. It's a tremendous attempt to work together. And we're not using unity as there's a lot of
lying.
love.
The question,
You refuse to walk
is,
together.
well, here's the question. You know, Jewish identity is changing in many ways, especially among the Jewish diaspora that we're seeing. How do you, I mean, are there fears, first of all, that we're going to be alienating many people who are coming from abroad by not providing this egalitarian prayer space? And kind of what is your response to that issue of changing Jewish identity?
We've seen groups from Jews from all denominations that came to Sderot, where we live, and saw a beautiful country that's thriving and growing, and found a status quo, found a way of observing Shabbat and respecting, and they see this is our tradition, and they're tremendously impressed. And I think the Reform movement, who at first didn't believe in the return to Zion, things are changing within the Reform movement. We're not changing. And we have a right that this could be a common denominator. And you know there's a lot of freedom of religion in this country.
But we need to use the Western Wall, that space, as a place that can unify. One of the great ironies of the whole discussion is that the chief rabbinate themselves offered the egalitarian movements a different space. The difference now is just a matter of a couple of 100 meters. But because things have become so politicized, well, we're distancing not tens of Jews or hundreds of Jews. We're distancing millions of Jews from the state of Israel. And at this critical moment, at a time when Israel is such a divisive thing, especially on the North American scene, we have a great responsibility here in Israel. And I say as an Orthodox Jews, as the halachic community, to embrace people, to say, yes, you have a place here.
Well, it looks like, unfortunately, we're not going to be able to solve this issue today at the table, and we have run out of time. But thank you all for joining us. It's been very enlightening. All right, the Israeli national airline El Al has been catching flack for asking female passengers to move seats when ultra-Orthodox men don't want to sit next to them. But it looks like a landmark court ruling is putting an end to that practice. 2 years ago, Renee Rabinowitz, an 81-year-old Holocaust survivor, was asked by an El Al flight attendant to move seats on a flight to Israel. That was all because her neighbor was an Orthodox male. When the pilot of the flight told her that this was El Al policy, coming down from the board of directors, she started thinking about a legal challenge. Now, years later, the Jerusalem Magistrates Court has ruled that the practice is discriminatory. Judge Dana Cohen-Leka says that under absolutely no services can a crew member ask a passenger to move from their assigned seat due to their gender. Rabinowitz has been awarded around $2,000 for her troubles. But she says the case has never been about the money. It's been about El Al changing its policy, and that's what they've been ordered to do. For years, there have been troubling questions about what the Israeli government did in the 1950s that led to the disappearance of hundreds of predominantly Yemenite children. Today, thousands of people protested in downtown Jerusalem, demanding that the government acknowledge that the kids were abducted. The government has declassified numerous documents that shed light on the abduction of Yemenite children who were given to Ashkenazic families that were seeking to adopt. But this isn't enough for the protesters. They want more information on the allegations that Yemenite children were used for medical experimentation following the release of new documents that suggest organs from deceased children were even being sold to U.S. medical researchers. Families who were affected by the abuse of power are demanding DNA testing of the bones of children buried between 1948 and 1954 to see if they even died of the diseases that the hospitals claimed killed them. They also want the adoption files from those years to be opened. Israel certainly likes to think that most of its soldiers are happy and proud to serve, but hey, everybody wants a break sometimes. The thing is, it looks like about 48 troops took their desire to get off of base a little too far because they've just been court-martialed for pretending to catch a skin disease, all in an effort to get medical leave, and they weren't the only ones. Last week, over 200 soldiers at a Negev base told the army that they'd contracted a skin condition. Some of them actually did have skin sores from impetigo, a bacterial infection that spreads in unsanitary living conditions. And those soldiers did get antibiotic prescriptions. at the time and came home to recover. But the 48 soldiers who were apparently faking their illnesses have been ordered to remain on base without leave for 2 to 4 weeks. 2 soldiers have even been dismissed from combat roles. The Army says that the soldiers' conduct brought about the special activation of medical systems at the cost of operational preparedness. Hundreds of people poured into Tel Aviv's Rabin Square yesterday for an incredible demonstration of international respect and celebration. ILTV's Aaron Ports is here with us now to tell us more. Aaron, what were they celebrating?
All right, so Wednesday was the 3rd annual International Yoga Day.
Yoga Day.
Yoga Day, and in honor of the occasion, the Indian Embassy of Tel Aviv co-sponsored an enormous event.
So why would the Indian Embassy be getting involved with an event like this? I mean, we do know that yoga
Right.
has a very, very deep and historical connection with India.
And it's wonderful, by the way.
By the way.
But in this year in particular, the Yoga Day coincides with the anniversary of 25 years of diplomatic relations with India.
Interesting.
So it's a really, so the Indian Embassy decided to help with this event in honor of that. And the event itself was truly a display of togetherness, of working together. It was really nice. It was really great.
I wish I could have gone myself, but let's check out your report.
Countries all over the world marked the day with massive public yoga demonstrations, including over 12,000 people practicing in Times Square, New York, and upwards of 50,000 in Lucknow, India, including, of course, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Israel, on the other hand, as stated earlier, is also celebrating the 25th anniversary of relations with India. So first, to set the right mood, both participants and organizers alike came early to help set up the world's largest yoga mat artwork in the middle of Rabin Square at 1,400 square meters. The artwork was overseen by Sharona Karni-Cohen and her company Dream, which commissions artists and prints their works. Anju Kumar, the Indian deputy ambassador to Israel, loved the idea, saying, quote, "We thought it was a beautiful idea for the yoga mat art, so we joined hands with Sharona. The message of yoga is for the good of everyone, peace, happiness, and holistic well-being," end quote. Now, while the artwork was impressive and large focus of the day, the primary thing that brought nearly 1,500 practitioners to the front of Tel Aviv's municipal building was to practice yoga. And to that end, Deputy Ambassador Kumar had this to say.
We see people doing various streams of yoga, like yoga in Israel is very popular. We have invited all yoga organizations to bring their students and perform a joint yoga here. And also we have teachers from India who are doing yoga and who will be giving the message of peace and harmony and holistic well-being of yoga.
That's right, many different teachers with different practices, all bringing their schools of thought and movements to one place for a massive yoga extravaganza. Sounds amazing, right? Well, the participants sure loved it.
I'm very, very excited. This is the 3rd International Yoga Day. And we have basically an amalgam, a mix of all different yoga schools here in one place. We have 1,500 mats all lined up together. And people are practicing from different schools.
I came here to do yoga. I'm really enjoying doing that. I feel the change in my body every time that I do that. And I came here to celebrate the National Yoga Day.
For the Israelis for whom yoga doesn't float their boat, there are still plenty of reasons to be proud of the 25th anniversary aspect too. Indian Prime Minister Modi will visit Israel in the first week of July for the first official visit by a sitting Indian PM, and the two countries also have many agricultural, military, and technological agreements that give cause for celebration. With all these partnerships and friendships being built, it's no wonder so many thousands of Israelis travel to India every year.
When you think about whiskey distilleries, you're probably thinking about Scotland, Ireland, or even Kentucky. Well, it turns out there is a brand new distillery right here in Tel Aviv, and it's just produced the first ever Israeli whiskey. Joining me today in the studio is Eitan Atir, CEO of the Milk and Honey Distillery, and Aaron Porce is still with us because he loves
You don't want to miss
whiskey.
this piece, yeah.
Oh, I did not want to miss this piece.
Absolutely
Exactly.
not. So I'm really excited to kind of hear about why you decided to start a distillery in Israel. Clearly, this isn't a very common thing, right?
Absolutely. So we established actually 4.5 years ago. We thought about the idea. A group of 5 entrepreneurs in the startup industry, not whiskey business or alcohol, said, why not? First of all, the wine industry was going ballistic here in Israel. The beer was in distillery. Again, why not? So you need the knowledge, you need the cash flow, you need everything, you need the equipment, and we said we're going to do all of that. and establish a distillery here in Israel.
So, you know, I mean, obviously, Israel has a very, very deep connection with wine and beer. Like you said, they say that the first wine, you know, drunk by Jesus was here in Israel from 3,000. I mean, there's a long, long.
He made it himself. No.
Yeah, there you go. Well, but you know, whiskey is a whole different world to go into. What is unique about the whiskey that you guys are producing here?
Okay, so we are categorized on the type of New World whiskey. Okay,
Right.
so we have like the 5 big countries: United States, Canada, Japan, Ireland, and Scotland. Exactly like you said. But New World whiskey is a category with more, let's say, marketing-wise, more different area of climate zone, like we have here in Israel. We have perfect climate zone, hot climate for 8-9 months of the year. That's perfect whiskey. We mature twice up to 3 times faster than in a traditional country. Water is a huge problem here in Israel. Not the best water you can find in the world, but you have to acknowledge, like a water laboratory can and do it better. And this last thing, you can put barrels in different places in Israel. Think about it: Jerusalem and high hills, the desert, the Dead Sea, and all of them are going to affect the barrels differently and our whiskey differently. And you have perfect marketing and
So it seems like there's really going to be kind of a whiskey future in this country, and I understand that you have a whiskey auction coming up. Aaron, don't get too excited.
Yeah.
No, I'm already kind of like halfway off my seat here.
So, month ago, we said we had the first Israeli ever whiskey, 391 bottles. That's it, 1 barrel. The first 100, number 1 up to 100, are going to an international worldwide auction that you can put any bid on any number that you want. It's going to be high, I hope. But it's in a worldwide website only for auctions for whiskey. Whiskey is...
And 391 of
That's
391 is going to maybe end up here in the ILTV studio, but no drinking on set, Aaron.
No, not on set.
All right, so apart from your
Yeah.
single malt, what else are you guys working on?
So you need things for the whiskey is going to be ready, the mass production is going to be ready in 2019. So we have 2 years, 3 years after that. So we're making other spirits that are amazing. We have our own gin, very, very Israeli. We call it Levantine gin. 8 different herbs inside the gin that is only from the Lewinsky market, just nearby the distillery.
Well, let me tell you, I'm already getting exciting to
all
hear. I know that I have to go and visit the distillery myself, but unfortunately we've run out of time, so you're just going to have to head over to the Milk and Honey Distillery to find out more. Now, moving on to our next story, for a lot of young Jews, a bar or bat mitzvah isn't just a transition to adulthood, but it's also the chance to practice a little tikkun olam, or the idea of repairing the world. Well, ILTV's Aaron Ports is still here to tell us more. Aaron, I know this story was really exciting for you.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, I heard about this young woman that I'm about to introduce, and she just really is a very incredible and impressive person.
She puts us all to shame when it comes to...
Oh, completely to shame. I mean, her humanitarian contribution in the 2 weeks she's technically been an adult has already kind of dwarfed everybody else's.
Right. Well, let's check out your report.
So, yeah.
Meet Shira Fudernick from Palo Alto, California. As part of her bat mitzvah, she raised $50,000 for the Arava International Center for Agricultural Training, or ACAT, located in Sapir, Israel. Each year, ACAT takes in close to 1,000 students from all over the world, including Cambodia, Nepal, Ethiopia, Rwanda, and Thailand, to complete their 10-month course, which focuses on sustainability and economic development. When asked why she chose to support this particular project, Shira said, quote, "Food insecurity is an issue that's really important to me because it's such a widespread issue," end quote. As a thank you for her contribution to the school, she was asked to speak at its graduation ceremony last Thursday. Enroll in eTeacher's online Hebrew courses and quickly discover that it creates the deepest connection to Israel that you could ever imagine.
And now for our Hebrew word of the day. People all over the world just celebrated International Yoga Day by publicly flaunting their practice. So, in honor of dedicated people everywhere, today's word is tirgul, meaning a practice. Tirgul actually sounds a lot like targil, which means a military-type exercise or a drill. But don't get it confused. A tirgul is something you dedicate time and passion to over longer periods of time. That's why yoga is called the tirgul in the first place, because it's a daily daily mindset, if of course it's done properly and consistently. There are many other tilgulim or practices we can mention here, but really just about anything that you set your mind to can become a tilgul. You can set aside time to hone your skills in art, medicine, science, music, sports, the list goes on. Just remember that in any successful tilgul, the first step is devoting enough time to it. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the weather forecast. Tonight, the skies will be clear to partly cloudy with a low of 69 or 21 degrees Celsius. The weekend is looking to be pretty sunny with a slight rise in temperatures and a high of 84 or 29 degrees Celsius. All right, that's it for today's news. Today's exchange rate is 3.54 shekels to the American dollar. Remember to sign up for our daily newsletter at iltv.tv. I'm Natasha Kirchuk, and thanks for watching.